Subscribe and like and comment and share please.
The Candy King. The first time Marcus Webb tasted failure, it was bitter as burnt caramel. He stood in the empty storefront on Maple Street, watching the morning sun illuminate dust motes that danced through air thick with broken dreams. The For Lease sign mocked him from the window. 3 months. That's all it had taken for his artisanal chocolate shop to collapse, crushed under the weight of rent, suppliers, and the cold indifference of a neighborhood that preferred mass-produced candy bars to his handcrafted truffles. Marcus was 32, divorced, and now unemployed. His ex-wife had been right about one thing: he was a dreamer in a world that rewarded pragmatists. But Marcus couldn't let it go. 2 weeks after closing the shop, he was back in his cramped apartment kitchen, melting chocolate at 2 in the morning. His hands moved with practiced precision, tempering the glossy dark liquid to exactly 88 degrees. He wasn't trying to start over. He wasn't even sure what he was doing. He just knew that when everything else fell apart, this was what remained: the alchemy of sugar and cocoa, the transformation of simple ingredients into something that made people smile. He poured the chocolate into molds shaped like tiny crowns, a remnant from a Valentine's Day promotion that never happened. As he worked, his phone buzzed. A text from his sister: "Stop torturing yourself and go to bed." Marcus smiled grimly and kept working. The next morning, he packed 20 crown-shaped chocolates into a simple cardboard box and walked to the children's hospital 6 blocks away. The receptionist looked skeptical when he explained he wanted to donate them, but eventually directed him to the pediatric ward. A nurse named Carmen accepted the box with tired eyes that suddenly brightened. "The kids will love these," she said. "We get a lot of donated candy, but nothing this nice." Marcus shrugged. "I used to have a shop." These were just sitting around. He forgot about it until 3 days later when Carmen called him. "I don't know what you put in those chocolates," she said, "but the kids won't stop talking about them." "Do you have more?" He didn't, but he could make more. That weekend, Marcus made 60 chocolates. This time, he included notice, a tiny scrolls tucked beside each crown with handwritten jokes and riddles. "What's a ghost's favorite candy?" "Blueberries." "Why did the cookie go to the doctor?" "It felt crumbly." The jokes were terrible. The kids loved them. Carmen called again. Then she introduced Marcus to Dr. Patricia Okonkwo, the ward director, who asked if he'd consider doing a workshop. "Some of our long-term patients could use the distraction," she explained. "If you're willing." Marcus showed up the following Thursday with ingredients for chocolate-dipped pretzels so simple enough for small hands. He expected a handful of kids. Instead, he found a room full of children of all ages, many bald from chemotherapy, some in wheelchairs, all watching him with eyes that held too much understanding for their years. He froze. What was he doing here? He was a failed businessman, not a teacher, not a healer. Then a little girl in a pink headscarf raised her hand. "Are you the Candy King?" she asked. Marcus blinked. "What?" "That's what Carmen calls you. She says you're the Candy King who brings the crown chocolates." Something shifted in his chest. "I guess I am," he said quietly. "Want to help me make something?" For 2 hours, the ward filled with laughter. Chocolate got everywhere, on fingers, faces, hospital gowns. A boy named Justin created a pretzel sculpture he declared was a chocolate spaceship. A teenager named Aisha, hooked to an 4-pole, carefully dipped 20 pretzels with geometric precision, explaining she was planning to study engineering. As Marcus cleaned up, Dr. Okonkwo pulled him aside. "We can't pay you," she said, "but we have a budget for volunteer programs. If you wanted to keep doing this." He wanted to. The workshops became weekly, then twice weekly. Marcus taught the kids to make chocolate bark studded with dried fruit, peppermint patties, peanut butter cups. He learned their names, their diagnoses, their dreams. He met parents who looked as exhausted as he'd felt, and he watched their faces soften when their children laughed over a lopsided truffle. Word spread. Other hospitals called. A social media post by one grateful parent went viral. A photo of a bald 6-year-old wearing a paper crown, holding a chocolate crown, grinning with chocolate-smudged lips. Candy King trended locally. Marcus's phone wouldn't stop ringing. He started getting requests for birthday parties, corporate events, school fundraisers. People wanted the chocolates, yes, but they also wanted the experience, the joy and presence that Marcus brought to the work. He hired Carmen's college-aged nephew to help with production. Then Carmen herself left the hospital to manage operations. Within 6 months, the Candy King was a real business, operating out of a commercial kitchen Marcus rented by the hour. But he never forgot where it started. Every Wednesday and Saturday morning, Marcus was at the children's hospital. He turned down lucrative weekend catering jobs to be there. When his accountant suggested he was losing money on the hospital visits, Marcus fired the accountant. "This isn't about money," he told Carmen later. "Then what's it about?" she asked gently. Marcus thought about it. He thought about the storefront that failed, about his ex-wife's disappointment, about all the ways he'd measured success before. He thought about Justin's chocolate spaceship and Aisha's engineering dreams and the little girl who'd first called him the Candy King. "It's about remembering why this mattered in the first place," he said finally. "I wanted to make chocolate because it made people happy. I got so caught up in profit margins and competition that I forgot the people part. These kids, they reminded me." The business grew. Marcus opened a small shop again, this one decorated with photos of the hospital workshops, with a donation jar where customers could contribute to free chocolate programs for sick kids. He hired 2 more staff members, both formerly hospitalized teenagers he'd taught to make ganache. Success came differently this time, steadier, rooted in purpose rather than pride. But the real measure arrived on a Tuesday evening 2 years after that first box of Crown chocolates. Marcus was closing the shop when a young woman in a college sweatshirt walked in. She was tall, healthy, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. He didn't recognize her until she smiled. "Aisha?" "Hi, Marcus." She held up a paper bag. "I brought you something." Inside was a pretzel, dipped in chocolate, perfectly geometric, and beside it, a letter, her acceptance to MIT's engineering program. "I wanted you to be one of the first to know," she said. "You were there during the worst time of my life, and you made it bearable. You made it sweet." She laughed at her own pun. "I know that sounds corny, but it's true." Marcus's throat tightened. "I'm so proud of you." "I'm going to change the world," Aisha said with the confidence of someone who'd already survived the unsurvivable. "But I learned something from you first. Whatever I build, whoever I become, I want to make sure it makes people smile the way your chocolate did." Success isn't just about being the best. It's about making life a little sweeter for everyone around you. After she left, Marcus sat in his quiet shop, holding that perfectly dipped pretzel. Outside, Maple Street was settling into evening. The same street where his first dream had died. But he wasn't the same man who'd stood in that empty storefront, bitter with failure. He was the Candy King. Not because he'd conquered the confectionery world, but because he'd learned what truly mattered: connection, joy, presence. The sweetness we create for others. Marcus took a bite of Aisha's pretzel. It was perfect. And so was this.